Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Remy is sworn to secrecy by Luna, and Finn begs Steffy to keep trying. When Steffy learns that Luna Nozawa, the same Luna who attempted to kill her, is Finn's daughter, she is devastated at the Cliff House. Steffy is certain that Poppy is lying or manipulating her once more. Although Finn would like it to be, it isn't. I am Luna's dad. I sincerely apologize. Beautiful and audacious turns ahead, Remy and Luna set out on a perilous journey. Remy gains additional knowledge about Luna. When Remy volunteered to assist Spencer in fixing his air conditioner at Bill's house, he had no idea that he would meet someone like Luna. Should I be worried? He wonders. Dario, isn't that you, God? Luna wonders. Remy attests to it. Luna cautions that it would be detrimental to both of them if Bill knew they were conversing. Remy understands that nobody is aware of her presence. How is your family doing? Luna claims that her mother is clueless and that her father is not present. Remy doesn't think her circumstances are bad. Luna claims that except from her ankle monitor, everything is nearly normal. Remy finds it incomprehensible that Bill would free her from prison. She claims that they had a connection that no one else can relate to. She reiterates her warning that he must keep his side of her a secret. You'll have to kill me, right? He asks with a smile. Luna Remy BNB. After finishing, Remy complains that Bill's people aren't keeping up with the system. Getting additional employment like this would not bother him. He says that Bill instructed him to complete the task and then exit by the service gate. That means he didn't want you to see me, Luna replies. Bonds with Sheila and Poppy. Sheila and Poppy talk about Luna spending the rest of her life in prison in Il Giardino. You never know, Sheila answers. Look at me. She describes the oppressive sense of loneliness that comes with being incarcerated. Poppy admits that she wasn't present when she last visited her daughter. Sheila scowls. Did she simply not want to see you? She says. They told her she wasn't at the institution, according to Poppy. Sheila questions whether she had a medical appointment or was transferred. According to Poppy, they refused to provide her with any information. As if my concern for Luna wasn't already enough. Simply put, I never imagined that this would be my life. To have a daughter capable of such heinous acts. Luna will spend the remainder of her life in captivity. Sheila informs Poppy that they aren't all that different and that their circumstances are preventing them from seeing their kids. An overbearing wife is preventing her from seeing her son. Poppy reflects that her daughter is incarcerated for killing 2 men. Sheila is sure Poppy wishes Luna well, but she misses Finn terribly. Sheila is desperate to have a genuine role in her son's life because he and Hayes are so important to her. Poppy sobs, of course I do, and she'll never be part of my life again. She feels as though she is being offered another chance with Hayes. Having a bond with her grandson would be her top priority. Ridge and Taylor take stock of their good things. As Ridge glances up at his father's painting at the Forrester estate, Taylor snatches him from behind. He says, "What was that for?" after they share a kiss. Taylor just wanted to communicate that she's happy. In order to kiss again, Ridge requests seconds. After all these years apart, Taylor tells about how happy she is to be together once more. Her children are flourishing, Thomas is doing well and raising Douglas, and she is ecstatic for their daughter. Ridge acknowledges that being thankful is difficult now that the company is no longer there. Family, according to Taylor, keeps people sane. Her capacity to put things in perspective is astounding, according to Ridge. He is reassured by Taylor that the Forrester family is resilient. Their children, particularly Steffy, are in stable, loving marriages. They discuss how they moved past Sheila being Steffy's mother and how Finn saved his life while Taylor gets them drinks. She believes that no challenge is too great for them to conquer. They review Finn's family's difficulties and wish that the two of them won't face any more. BNB at Taylor Ridge. Sheila bemoans all the firsts she lost out on with Finn to Poppy at Il Giardino. Although they won't let her, she feels that she could be a part of Hayes' life. Her only goal is to be an exceptionally wonderful grandmother to her grandchild. Luna tells Remy at Bill's house that if he found out she was speaking to him, he would put her back in jail. "Why are you?" says Remy. Luna believed he would keep her secret since they had a connection. "My lips are sealed," he smiles. Steffy is pushed to her breaking point. "How could you not have known?" Steffy questions her husband at the Cliff House. Finn claims he believed Poppy when she informed him the baby wasn't his. If his mother hadn't tested Tom Star for paternity, he might never have found out. Finn informs his wife that he is Luna's father after completing 2 of his own paternity tests. Steffy sobs. They convince Finn that Poppy was lying. Steffy yells that he has always believed that Luna is his cousin, but the person who drugged her, imprisoned her, and desired her death is actually his daughter. Steffy is unsure about how to handle this situation. Finn attempted to ignore what had transpired with Poppy and never anticipated any consequences. Steffy summarizes that something did come of it. His daughter, a psychopath, attempted to kill herself. Seeing how much misery he's bringing her kills Finn. Finn can't even begin to comprehend Steffy's feelings as she sighs. "First you tell me Sheila Carter is your birth mother, and now this." He wouldn't hold it against her if she decided to leave him as soon as possible. Finn loves her, but he hates that she might never look at him the same way again. He begs her to keep trying for their family. They won't allow Luna to get in the way, just as Sheila didn't. He only cares about her and their priceless kids. According to Steffy, his second daughter attempted to kill herself. "How much longer can I put up with this?" Steffy is unsure of how she will manage to live with his ill daughter, and Finn begs her to keep trying. When Finn revealed that he is Luna's father, Steffy was appalled, and Poppy almost spat her drink on Sheila, who believed she had a closer bond with Finn. Steffy is on the verge of passing out at the Cliff home after learning that Luna is Finn's daughter. Steffy attempts to convince herself that Poppy is lying or that this is a terrible nightmare. Although he wishes it were, it isn't. He is deeply regretful and is Luna's father. How he couldn't have known is beyond her comprehension. If his mother hadn't performed the paternity test, the doctor would not have known and never suspected. "You're Luna's dad." "You." "Finn." With tears in her eyes, Steffy responds, "You." He wanted to forget that night because he thought Poppy was right. According to Steffy, his daughter is the one who wanted her dead. She is unsure of how to handle his demented daughter. Seeing how much misery he's bringing her kills Finn. Sheila first, and now this. Although he doesn't want her to flee, he wouldn't hold it against her. He begs her not to give up on their family because he fears she will never be able to look at him the same way again. He only cares about her and their priceless kids. "You have a second child. Your daughter attempted to murder me. How much longer can I put up with this?" she inquires. While repairing the air conditioner at Bill's, Remy acknowledges that he never anticipated running into the infamous Luna. He questions whether he ought to be worried. She smiles at that. She reminds Dario that if Bill realized they were conversing, he would lose it. She keeps flaunting her ankle band while they talk about how mansion arrest isn't bad. She shares with him how close she is to Bill and how much she believes in him. They joke once more that she will have to kill him if he tells anyone she's there. After fixing the air conditioner, Remy laments that Bill's personnel haven't bothered to keep the place up to date. They believe that Bill did not intend for them to cross paths. If Bill caught them, he would put her back in jail. She felt they had a lot in common when she first saw him. He vows to keep his mouth shut. Poppy informs Sheila at Il Giardino that her daughter will probably spend the rest of her life in prison. "You never know." "Look at me," Sheila says. Poppy informs her of the harshness of jail life. Sheila is all too familiar with that. She is shocked to learn that the last time Poppy visited her, Luna wasn't even present. Sheila finds this confusing. They would only state that she was incarcerated, but not at that particular prison, Poppy explains. Poppy didn't anticipate living this kind of life. They are not that different, according to Sheila. They're keeping both of their children away from them. More than everything, they both adore their kids. Sheila is really missing Finn. Having her son in her life is Sheila's greatest desire. Having a bond with her grandson would be her top priority. She believes she could have that with Hayes, but she lost out on all of Finn's firsts. The fact that she is being denied that hurts her heart. Ridge examines his father's portrait at Eric's. Entering, Taylor tells him how glad she is, and gives him a kiss. Despite the fact that she is aware of the high level of stress at work, she makes an effort to get up each day feeling thankful. Nevertheless, she is thankful that Steffy is doing well and that they are together. He compliments her on her excellent viewpoint as they start echoing phrases they've seen on t-shirts. He is informed by Taylor of their strength and Steffy's strength. She is really appreciative of Finn. They raise a glass to Steffy and Finn's idyllic lives. She is certain that they can conquer every challenge. Every carefully crafted illusion that Steffy and Finn had formerly depended on to get through the treacherous hallways of the Forrester heritage had been upended by the stormy revelations, broken hopes, and unanticipated betrayals that had completely upended their world. The foundations of their lives had started to collapse under the constant weight of long-buried secrets and broken promises in the middle of the night, in what had previously been a well-planned existence characterized by ambition, passion, and a brittle trust. A tapestry of hopelessness and disillusionment that no longer resembled the world they had so laboriously constructed together was left behind, as though the very fabric of their reality, woven with threads of love, ambition, and an unwavering desire to create something lasting, had been violently torn apart. The upheaval was a personal and existential crisis for Steffy, whose unwavering spirit and fierce determination had always been her greatest assets. Every day was a painful reminder that the loyalties she had once trusted were nothing more than shifting sands in a desert of deceit. Years of negotiating the perilous seas of family politics and business intrigues had made her heart strong and battle-hardened, but now it ached from the weight of betrayals that seemed to come from every angle. She was paralyzed by the magnitude of the chaos that now surrounded her world, a world where even the most private moments of connection with Finn were marred by the sting of secrets and the nagging suspicion that nothing was as it seemed. This was the woman who had once stood at the helm of her own destiny, unafraid to challenge the old guard and rewrite the rules of engagement. However, Finn had always been the mysterious force whose quiet fortitude and charm concealed an inner conflict that few ever saw. Now, however, that internal storm had burst into a full-scale hurricane that threatened to drown him in shame and sorrow. A series of events so deep that they seemed to upend the fundamental order of his existence had destroyed the previously steady, measured cadence of his life, which had been characterized by measured decisions and a stoic resolve to defend the legacy of Forrester creations. Now, with unrelenting passion, every choice he had taken and every lie he had spoken to protect himself from the harsh truths of ambition and treachery came back to haunt him. Long filled with the silent resolve of a man on a mission, his eyes now flashed with the doubt of one who no longer trusted his own instincts. Their once secure environment had been turned into a perilous maze where every path carried the possibility of either salvation or destruction due to the disclosure of long-kept secrets, the emergence of covert relationships, and the dissolution of long-standing partnerships. Whispered discussions and sly glances revealed a world where even the most treasured relationships were suddenly questionable, and the boardrooms where plans were once developed with the accuracy of a well-rehearsed play had become electrified with tension and mistrust. Both Steffy and Finn were forced to face an uncertain and intimidating future as the fragile power dynamic that had kept them together for so long began to crumble under the constant assault of reality. As if the very core of who they were had been lost in a wave of overwhelming uncertainty, the once familiar routines of their daily lives, careful meetings, quiet evenings in elegant homes, and the infrequent moments of intimacy that had once brought them comfort, had become fragmented and foreign amid the swirling chaos. Once a haven of strength and resolve, Steffy's inner world had turned into a battleground where every heartbeat reverberated with the anguish of betrayal and every tear was evidence of a love tainted by dishonesty. She would find herself standing alone on the edge of a cliff, both literally and figuratively, looking out at a stormy sea that reflected the storm raging inside her soul in the quiet aftermath of yet another cataclysmic revelation. Finn, who was struggling with the consequences of choices that had sent him down a path of regret, was suddenly confronted by a mirror that reflected back a guy who was completely different from himself, a man whose aspirations, which had previously been a source of pride, had turned into the same things that held him back to a regretful past. A chain of events that promised to reshape their legacy in ways that were both thrilling and horrifying had been set in motion by the irrevocable alteration of their connected fates, which had been so delicately balanced on the fulcrum of hope and betrayal. Every move they made in this new, upside-down world was dangerous, and every choice they made was a tightrope walk between salvation and more destruction. Their lives' once certain rhythms had been replaced by a discordant symphony of broken illusions and revealed realities, a clamor of feelings that made the future a dark, uncertain vista. Both Steffy and Finn were forced to face the repercussions of their own actions as well as the terrifying prospect that their world might never be the same again in this upside-down reality, where old allegiances fell apart and new alliances were formed in the furnace of desperation. A scene of despair that was both breathtaking and horrific was created by the combination of the agony of betrayal, the unrelenting strain of high-stakes corporate combat, and the deeply emotional scars left by years of unsaid disputes. But in the middle of all that mayhem, there was a glimmer of hope, the hope that a spark of redemption could be ignited even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Standing on the edge of this uncertain future, Steffy and Finn were united by a common resolve to free themselves from the grip of hopelessness, to mend what had been destroyed, and to reinterpret the very meaning of their lives in a world where change was the only constant. Their path, which was filled with difficult self-examination and hard-won discoveries, is proof of the human spirit's unwavering resilience and its potential for transformation and rebirth even after being beaten by the constant storms of ambition and treachery. Thus, in the midst of this upside-down world, where every familiar face now bore the weight of hidden sorrows and every once trusted promise lay in ruins, Steffy and Finn set out on a quest for redemption, a bold attempt to find light in the darkest corners of their despair and to forge a new path toward a future characterized not by the failures of the past but by the unwavering possibility of rebirth, even as the echoes of their shattered world reverberated through the sacred halls of Forrester. Creations, a constant reminder that in the harsh world of love, power, and betrayal, the only true measure of a person is not the strength with which they wield their influence, but the courage they muster when all seems lost. As though the elements themselves were seeing the breaking of her soul, Steffy's screams reverberated off the old stone walls and blended with the unrelenting crash of the ocean waves far below, vibrating through the cliff home like a flood of unadulterated, raw misery. Every sound and every gust of wind seemed to deepen her anguish in that remote mansion on the ragged brink of a windswept cliff, where ancient hallways and forgotten artifacts of bygone grandeur stood still as silent witnesses to decades of wordless suffering and muttered secrets. On this stormy night, the ivy-draped estate, which had once been a haven of elegant refinement and the proud home of family heritage, had become a prison of sadness, its dark corridors resonating with the sharp sound of her sobs. Steffy, whose life had been a never-ending struggle against loss, betrayal, and the unrelenting expectations of a society that valued strength even as it crushed her, was suddenly unable to control the bottled-up pain that had been brewing in the back of her mind. The sound pierced the silence like glass fragments, revealing not only the agony of the present but also the cumulative weight of every broken promise, every whispered lie, and every instance in which her trust had been betrayed by people she had once held dear. Each scream was a cathartic release, a desperate outpouring of decades of repressed pain. The architecture surrounding her appeared to be crying with her as she stood in the cliff house's dimly lit foyer, her face etched with raw grief and her eyes wide with disbelief. The ornate moldings and faded portraits of stoic ancestors that had once inspired pride and admiration now loomed like silent witnesses to the unraveling of a life that had been founded on hope and resiliency. As if unwilling to hide the chaos within, the mansion's huge, elaborate doors, which had protected innumerable secrets over the years, now groaned open with every wind gust. With the wind roaring through the cracks in the old stone and the unrelenting wave below battering the rocky shoreline with an intensity that reflected the storm inside Steffy, the tempest continued to rage outside. The night was turned into a canvas painted with the unadulterated colors of grief and anguish as the cold rain, unrelenting and unforgiving, hammered against the tall, narrow windows, each drop a tiny percussion that added to the symphony of her tears. Steffy's cries in that instant of pure vulnerability were not just brief outbursts of annoyance, rather, they were heartbreaking statements from a woman driven to the edge by the constant betrayals and the crushing weight of expectations that had long weighed her down. Every scream was accompanied by a history of heartbreak, a montage of agonizing recollections in which the promises of a once bright future had crumbled into dust, love had turned sour, and trust had been broken by dishonesty. Her cries reverberated off the worn walls, blending with the creaks of the old timbers and the distant thunderclap to produce an eerie tune that perfectly captured the terrible beauty of her situation. A labyrinth of memories, where every step forward was haunted by ghosts of past loves and lost ambitions, every corridor of the Cliff House, from the grand marble staircase that spiraled upwards in an elegant display of forgotten opulence to the narrow, shadowed passageways lined with relics of a bygone era, became a testament to the depth of her despair in that one moment. Once a place of methodical control and unwavering resolve, Steffy's inner landscape now lay bare in its most vulnerable state. This one, devastating moment of release had been the culmination of the innumerable fights she had waged, against the vicious schemes of family members, the shifting allegiances in the boardroom, and the internal demons that spoke of inadequacy. Normally so calm and calculated in its authority, her voice now cracked under the weight of all the slights and hurts she had experienced over the years. The sound of her anguish was both a private mourning and a public call for justice in the isolation of the Cliff House's enormous, reverberating rooms, as though every note included a request that the world recognize the extent of her pain. The energy of her suffering seemed to pulse through the mansion, its once sterling heritage now tainted by the echoes of a shattered spirit, a warning that even the most opulent establishments are susceptible to the destructive power of human emotion. Beyond, the storm continued to rage, the fierce wind tearing the black clouds into a whirl, the unrelenting surf pounding the rocks with a ferocity that matched the rage inside her. As a mirror of the chaotic forces that had gradually weakened the foundations of Steffy's formerly impenetrable character, the natural elements in their uncontrolled, raw splendor became an extension of her inner torment. Each echo of her scream blended imperfectly with the storm's natural symphony, as though the cosmos itself were lamenting the loss of her purity. The tempest inside and the tempest outside combined to form a single, overwhelming force that destroyed every part of her. The slow drip of rainwater from a broken gutter, the distant roll of thunder that pierced the night, the flickering of a single candle in a dusty corner, every little detail, acted as a vivid reminder of the unstoppable passage of time and the unrelenting, uncompromising progression of fate that had led her to this point of extreme vulnerability. Steffy's agonized cries turned into a visceral tapestry of pain and resiliency in the middle of that night, serving as a moving reminder that beneath the polished exterior of a woman who had long been the epitome of strength, there was a soul tarnished by the wounds of betrayal and the unrelenting weight of unmet promises. Her cries, which reverberated through the Cliff House's historic hallways, were a release of repressed grief as well as a frantic plea for freedom, a plea that insisted that the world accept the unadulterated, unfiltered reality of her life. And it became evident that this was more than just an emotional outburst, rather, it was a turning point on her continuous path toward recovery as the sound of her anguish blended with the natural surroundings, the wind's melancholy howl, the steady rhythm of rain on stone, and the far-off, thunderous echoes. Every sob was a piece of a greater story, a tale of a woman who had been molded by the unrelenting tides of love and loss, ambition and treachery, and who, in that one moment, made the decision to escape the quiet prison of her own repressed suffering. Nevertheless, a little, nearly undetectable glimmer of defiance, a glimmer of optimism that the suffering would not permanently define her, flitted even in the middle of this overpowering sadness. Steffy's cries eventually faded into a shivering calm, a silence laden with the promise of a fresh start, as the storm started to dissipate, leaving behind the soft patter of the rain and a lingering sense of sorrow in the cool night air. Standing as a mute witness to the metamorphosis that happens when one faces the darkest corners of their psyche, the Cliff home is now a solemn monument to her unbridled emotional release. The hope that even the most wounded spirit may eventually start to put its parts back together and create a way to redemption was born at that cathartic moment, when the sounds of her cries drowned out into the big, black night. Even in the face of overwhelming despair, the ability to heal, to rise, and to reclaim one's identity remains an indomitable force that no storm can ever truly extinguish. This is why the memory of that night, the night when her screams echoed through the Cliff House, would always stand as a testament to the unwavering strength of the human spirit.